Hello to you. So happy to see you on our YouTube channel here at Improov. I'm Sandrine Grassard and I'm really pleased to welcome you here. We got some great videos to show you. This next one's really exceptional. I hope you enjoy watching this video as much as we had fun making it for you. Remember, you can subscribe to this channel to get all the other videos that we're coming out with on a regular basis. Make sure you don't forget to hit that bell so that you get notified, and give us a little like, of course, if you like it. And then we'll just play the video now so that you can enjoy it and learn how to be more efficient, how to save time, and how to enjoy life that much more. Welcome, everybody. So we're going to get started today with a really cool content. It's all about Microsoft 365 business applications. So without further ado, I know there's still some people coming on, so I'm just going to start the presentation, and that way it'll give them a chance to connect. All right, and I'll be sharing my screen any second now. So here we go. We're going to be sharing that one. There we go. So right now you should be seeing my screen, and that's the presentation here. So we are going to be talking about some really cool applications. But before we go into that, quickly a presentation of who we are. We're Improov. We've been around since 2010. We have trained over 400 companies of all sizes and all industries. We have given actually a total of 3,500 workshops and counting. And we've trained over 50,000 people. And it's one thing to say we've trained a lot of people, but as you can see here with these comments, a lot of the people that we've trained are really happy with the training they've received. We have seen some major transformations in people. So that's been super powerful for us and super enlightening. And it's so satisfying to know that we're helping people improve and transform their capacities to work with technology. So that's really our gift. I'm Sandrine Grassard. I've been doing this for a long time, over 20 years. I've trained thousands of people myself, and I use all of these tools every day. So I really look forward to showing you how to use these tools and how to get the maximum out of them. So let's get started with that. And today we're going to really focus on 4 tools. I'll see if I get to 5, but my focus is really to get to 4 tools today and show you a lot of tips and tricks around all the new things that Microsoft 365 has to offer. And so you'll see that we're going to flow through this quite smoothly. And as always, if you have questions, you can write them in the chat. And don't worry if I go a little fast on stuff and you can't like practice as you watch. This is a webinar. The whole idea is to just give you a feel for everything. And the great news is you will get the recording in the next couple of days so that you can watch and rewatch as often as you wish, so you can see how I do stuff and pause, which right now you can't do. So let's get started with that. Okay, so what is Microsoft 365? Basically, it started in 2017, where they actually gave it the name Office 365 back then. Why was it called Office 365? Well, because it was actually just the typical 5 applications. So you had Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you had Outlook, you had OneNote, and then after that, later on, they added Teams. But at first, it was the typical 5. Now, some bundles came with Publisher, some bundles came with Access, but generally speaking, everybody had about the typical 5, the classics, the ones that we've been using for years, and that's what came with Office 365. But in 2020, they wanted to show the world that they had way more products to offer, and let's be honest, they also wanted to compete with Google, who had launched their Google Suite, and then eventually called it Google Workspaces. And so what they did is they changed it and they called it Microsoft 365. And recently they changed their logo, which is no longer the 4 squares. It's now that ribbon that's like never-ending ribbon that's purple and blue. And but basically the products inside Microsoft 365 haven't changed. But if you're not aware of what comes with your license, you're going to be blown away by the amazing tools that come for free with your license. So it also comes in a subscription format, which is totally new, because up until 2016, we always had the version. Remember when we used to have Microsoft 2003, then Microsoft 2007, then Microsoft 2010, then 2013, then 2016. So you would buy the actual version, and the version you had didn't change because you had to download the new one. You notice that now, because it's a subscription format and we're paying our licenses per month, basically our products that we're using with Microsoft are evolving on a daily basis, which has a really good side to it because you're always getting the latest and greatest. But of course, it's got a downside to it, which is the apps are changing while you're using them. And sometimes things that you were able to do one way, you can't find anymore. And that's where we come in to help you guys out because you have to do them differently. So, always two sides to the same coin. So we're going to look at that. But what we're going to look at first and foremost is to find out, well, what is behind Microsoft 365? What are the three foundational applications that are really important to understand? Well, they're these three. They're Exchange, Skype, and SharePoint. Now, Exchange, I wonder if in the chat somebody will tell me what Exchange is used for. What does Exchange do in the Microsoft world? Way to go, email. You're so close. So yes, email, but not just email. The whole Outlook environment uses Exchange. And the way it's used is actually so that inside of one given company, you'll have Microsoft Exchange, which is the application running in the background so that each license, each person who has a Microsoft 365 license within the same organization can see each other's calendars. It's the way that the emails are sent internally. So all of that is the internal aspect of Outlook. So, whenever you can go see a calendar of one of your colleagues and you do the planning assistant and you see if they're available on Tuesday at 10 a.m., that is thanks to Exchange. If you didn't have Exchange, you would not be able to see that. And rightly so, if you think about it, if you know anybody outside your organization who also uses Outlook, you notice you can never see their calendar because they're not on your Microsoft Exchange. So that's where Exchange comes in. Really, really powerful tool that's very important in the Microsoft world. The next one is Skype. Now, Skype, so it used to be a separate company, and Microsoft bought Skype. And Skype is the tool that we use for what inside the Microsoft environment? Let's see if anybody knows that. So Skype is the tool that is used for video conferencing, for chatting. So in your Teams environment, when you're doing a video conference, you're using Skype. When you're doing a call using Skype or a Teams, you're using Skype. When you're doing a chat, you're also using Skype. And when you're transferring files, you're actually using Skype. So Skype for business is really, really big. And it's the one tool that's being used inside the Microsoft environment for the Teams section of things. And then the third one is SharePoint. Now, SharePoint, not everybody knows this, but SharePoint is the tool that, of course, is used for our data. So all of our storage of documents and files, et cetera, is our SharePoint, but it's also what is used to create a team in Teams. Aha. When you're inside Teams and somebody creates a team, they're actually creating an intranet site that is actually a SharePoint site. So that's exactly what's happening when people are creating a team inside Teams. They're actually creating an intranet site. And so it's SharePoint that's running on the back end of that. So without SharePoint, you would not have any teams in Teams. All right. So I hope that was all new stuff to you that will allow you to understand what you're doing. So basically, when you're saving documents in a team in Teams, you're actually saving documents in SharePoint. It's just Teams is representing the information. It's like a window. It's like a shop. So like you're going to the shopping mall, and the mall is the big building, and inside the mall you have all the stores. Well, Teams is like the shopping mall with the big building, and the stores are all the applications, and one of them is SharePoint. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I'll show you that in visual format. So when you get Microsoft 365, you actually have the opportunity to install your Office applications, so all of these, locally onto your machine. You can install them onto 5 different devices. So you could install them on your desktop, on your laptop. You could install them on a tablet. Let's say you're using a second laptop because you move around a lot, or you're another desktop at another office. You can install them up to 5 devices, and you would have those local applications installed on your machine. Now, that doesn't mean that you're limited to that, because online, you can use them anywhere that you can have access to a computer, unless in your organization, there's a security setting that doesn't allow you to do that. But normally, people can use them everywhere online. So how do you find your apps, all of your online apps, the ones that are not installed locally? Well, the thing we have to do is we have to first go to office.com. And when we do that, we're actually going to see a lot of apps. So I'm going to go to office.com with you, and I'm going to show you how you're going to do that. So to get to this screen here, what you have to do simply is open up your favorite browser, whether it's Edge or whether it's Chrome. I usually use Chrome. I prefer Chrome. I find that it's just more user-friendly. And what you would do here is you would go into the URL section here, and you would just type office.com. So if you aren't logged into your account, you're going to end up in a screen that says, see like this, sign in, okay? But if you're already logged in, it'll go straight to, see, it already knows it's me. And it says, would you like to log in? And I say yes. And so it's going to take you straight to your account. So there you go. So now you're in Microsoft 365 and you see you're at your welcome page. But this is your welcome page of Microsoft 365. If you want to actually see your applications you have access to, you have the major Office ones on your left, right here. But if you want to see all of them, you would go to what I kindly call the waffle. I find that this actually looks more like a waffle than a launcher. A launcher is kind of boring. So that's your waffle. If you hit on the waffle here, you get all your apps. Now, if you've never ever gone to this place, you probably won't see this many apps. You might only see 4 or 5 of them. So that's when you might want to go to explore all applications and hit that button to go see all of them. So your apps are all here and all your applications are here, and you'll see your major ones are up at the top. You can explore them by category, or you can really hit all apps here at the right-hand side. So I'll just go back and show you where I went. On the right-hand side here on the top row, you can hit the all apps. And once you do that, you will see all of your applications. You will see your OneDrive, you'll see your OneNote, your Outlook, your Planner, the Power Apps, your lists, Forms, Excel, like really everything. And as you can tell, they're written in alphabetical order. So, you know, B here, bookings, and then you got your whiteboard and your Word at the end here, and Viva and all that. So tons of applications. Like I said, we're going to focus on 4 today. And we're going to show you some improvements of the classical ones, but we won't have time to cover all of them. And honestly, not all of them are that amazing in a business environment. So we're going to focus on the business world. Okay, so here we go. Okay. So now when you start your day, one of the really cool things you can do so that you don't have to reopen your apps every single day is you can pin your frequently used apps. So for example, if I go back to my Microsoft 365 environment and I say, you know what, every single day I use my to-do. So my to-do is going to be my area, my hub. I call it a hub because that's really what it is, of all the tasks that I have to do and all of the tasks that have been assigned to me in Planner. So if I'm using Planner with my team to work on specific projects, all of my Planner tasks and all of the tasks that I created for myself, they're going to appear here in my to-do. So as you can see, I've got stuff for my day here. I've got my important tasks here. I've got my planned tasks. I've got the ones that are assigned to me in a planner. And I've got all my flagged emails. All the emails that I put a flag on, they all will appear here. So the nice thing about this is that it's got it all in one spot. And in the Planner course, we'll go in, and even in the Outlook course, we'll go in detail explaining what each of these are. But what you need to know is that this to-do, instead of going into Outlook to Microsoft every day and then clicking on it and then opening it up, have the browser do it for you. So let me show you a little trick. If you come to the top here where the tab is, you can right-click on the tab and say pin. When you pin it, look what happens. It goes to the left-hand side as a little pin tab. So if I close this, and now I'm going to go back and open another session. I'm going to do another window. So it's open to my other screen, and I go here, and now I go back to my office.com. Okay, normally it should have come back, but I think it's because I have a second window open on my other screen. So that's why it's not doing it. But normally what it will do in your regular, here, I'll show it to you here. There you go. So I have this big window here. As soon as I put in my, as soon as I open my to-do, so I can open it from here, and I'm going to pin it. I won't be able to close it to show you, but every time I reopen my browser, my pinned to-do will show up here. So that's really, really neat because I really want to make sure that my pinned tabs are showing up. So in the morning, I pin 3 tabs. I pin my to-do tab. I pin my SharePoint on my home page of my SharePoint. So I go to home page here, and now I'm going to pin this guy. And then the third one I'm going to do is I actually pin my forms as well, because I use them a lot. So I will go in and pin this one. So now that they're all pinned, every time I close my browser and I reopen it, it'll automatically open those 3 pinned tabs for me so that I don't have to look for my information that I need or the applications that I use on a regular basis. So that's really, really, really practical. So I invite you to do that and get familiar with pinning the tabs that you need. Of course, don't go crazy and have like 12 pinned tabs, because that kind of defeats the purpose. So we don't want to do that. Okay. So if you're on the edge, you can also create a workspace, call it morning routine, and that will do the same thing. It'll create your tabs for you and pin them for you. So when you're using SharePoint and OneDrive to go and retrieve your files that you saved on your cloud storage, what you really want to do is make sure that you're using the online version and not the desktop version. And the reason why you want to do that is because it allows you to access your files from anywhere online instead of just being at your desktop. You are going to get automatic backup and synchronization. Now, don't get me wrong, you get it on the desktop as well, but the speed at which it will happen is going to be much slower on the desktop than it will be on the online version. On the online version, it doesn't have to do that last traveling between the internet, your router, and your computer, and then upload that information. Whereas when you're on the desktop, it has to do that extra step. So if you're collaborating, if you're working 2 or 3 people on the same file, really important to do it on the online version of your document that you're opening on SharePoint. So let me show you what I mean by that, because some people are like, oh, that's great, but I still don't know what you mean. Well, what I mean is if I'm in SharePoint here and I'm opening a file, so let's say I go to my training amazing company team, and I go to this team here, and I click on my documents to go and open my documents. What I'm going to do is if I open a file here, I have 2 ways. I have 2 ways of doing this. I can do it by doing a I can do it by doing a three dots here and saying open. Well, let me just get to an actual folder. File, I mean, not a folder. So let's say I go here and I say, okay, the invoice here, I'm going to go to the 3 dots and I can say open in the browser. So if I had clicked directly here, it would open the browser. But if I do open an app, it'll open on the desktop app. So how do we know what the difference is? Well, if I'm opening in the browser, I'll just click on it. It'll open here. And I know that I'm opening this Word document in my browser because it says the W of Word, and I have the tab here, and I have the URL here. So I know I'm in my browser. And if I look at my menus here, I mean, yes, I would have the classic ribbon, which would be a bit bigger, and I could see that I have quite a few options, but I can see that I'm not exactly in my Word, my desktop application. Now, to do some very, very simple writing, I don't need to go into the desktop app. But let's say I want to do something more complex. Well, then what I would do is I would click on the editing button here. I don't know if you see it on the right-hand side. There's an editing button. And I would say open in desktop app. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to open my Word document on my desktop application of Word, which we also call it the heavy app. And the reason why we call it that way is because it's got more functionalities. As you can see, my ribbon is much more complete than it was. My insert ribbon, my insert menu has way more options. My design menu has way more options, etc. So I'm in the heavier version, but I'm working locally on my machine. However, the file itself hasn't moved. The file is still in my SharePoint. I'm pausing for a reason here. I really want you guys to get this, okay? This is really important. When you're opening a file and you say edit it in the, and now you're on the, so let me just put them side by side. When you're working on this file, whether you're working on this file here or you're working on this file here, so online or here on your local machine, and I'm going to do a half by half here. It's not letting me do it. Okay, so I'll just take half the screen and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, so now you see how I've got, it's the exact same document. So if it's going to reload. If I go here and I say, you know what, I'm going to give it a number now, and I'll say invoice 2345, you'll see in a second it's going to update here. So it'll do the updating in a second. There you go. See, so now it's updated. So you see how it took, there's a lapse. And the delay is longer when you're working locally than when you're working online. But this file has not moved. Its location on both sides is still in that team. And it is here as well. You see, they're both in the same place. The only thing that's happened is that now the data has been downloaded to my machine, but it's also still remaining online. So that's the big difference in Microsoft 365. Other thing that's really interesting about the 365 environment now is that with Word and with PowerPoint and with Outlook, you have a dictation tool. Now, that's a really neat tool because I'm going to show you how good it is. And it's actually good in multiple languages. So let me just go, before I hit the dictate button, well, I'm going to hit it, and then I'm just going to go to the, okay, I'm going to make sure I choose the right language, right? Because if I start speaking in English and it thinks I'm speaking in French, it's going to be quite funny. So now, comma, let's see how good this translation, or I should say dictation tool, works when I speak at a relatively important speed and I'm not actually slowing down too much. I'm actually just talking to the computer. So as you can see, it did a really good job. There are some mistakes, and it's really important to double check your work. However, it is still doing the work for you, and you see it underlines in blue all the words it didn't quite get. It's saying actually is superfluous. You don't really need to have the word actually, so it's telling you that you can correct it. So that's now another tool that's acting up here. It's called the editor tool. So the editor tool is exactly what those underlines are for. And so it's going to look at my text and it's going to say, you've got one spelling mistake, you've got two conciseness problems, and you got three formality issues. And so you can go into each one and fix it. Now, of course, I have part of it in French and part of it in English, and that's why it's saying there's issues, but it still has no problem as long as I define which language I'm working in. So in this case, my sentence here, there seems to be, he doesn't like it seems it's not formal enough. So that's because I didn't tell him I wanted not formal, I wanted casual writing. So if I give the casual, the let's will be fine. And so will the actually. So you see, when you change your type of writing, it changes the corrections it's suggesting for you. So quite a really cool tool, the editor and the dictation tool, really some of my favorite tools that have come in. A while back, I hurt my shoulder and I was using the dictation tool for all my emails because I was so slow at typing with one hand. So sometimes it comes in really handy. So that dictation tool is available on the online version, but it's also available on the desktop version. Other thing that's been really, really neat that's been added is in the insertion menu. You have lots of pictures. You have now stock images that have been chosen for you. So if you go to stock images, there's actually a ton of images that are already copyright free. So you can use them. You see, it says you have access to the full library of created content, and really you can use images. You type keywords and you say, like, for example, I want an image of a sunset. Here you go. I want an image of a graph. You got all the graphic images you want. I want finance. Really, you can do so much here and save yourself such a bunch of time. So you integrate the picture. You see wherever my cursor was is where the picture is showing up. So that's no good. So I would grab it and move it to the bottom part here. Then here, as soon as you hit on this contextual menu, you would hit the picture button and say, you know what, I want a frame around it and I want to give it some perspective, and it'll do the changes for you. So you see, it's really, really instantaneous. It's like having a graphic artist work by your side. So quite neat stuff. All right. So now I've covered quite a few things here, but I just wanted you to know all the different things that have been added. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how you open your files when you're in the Microsoft environment. So there's actually 5 ways to open files, believe it or not. So the first one is just going on your SharePoint. So of course, like I was before, this is exactly what I showed you, is I'm in my SharePoint and I'm going to open a file. All I need to do here is just go to my waffle here, go to my SharePoint, or go to the other one that I know already has the tab for me. So for example, in this one, I could just go to SharePoint and go and find a file and just open it from here. And as soon as I click on opening it, it opens the file for me. So I could do it that way. The next way I could do it is to go to my Teams. So in Teams, you can open your files as well. So when you're in Teams, all you have to do is go to the files here on the left-hand side, and you have access to your OneDrive files, your SharePoint files, in your Teams, all the files that you always work on, they're accessible here. Now, of course, if you're saving stuff on your hard drive on your PC, that's not such a good idea unless your IT department has made sure that all of your local files, your desktop and your My Documents and et cetera, has been also tagged to be saved on the OneDrive. So if that's the case, they will show up here in My Files, and you will see all your documents here. So that's where you would have access to all your files. And then if you want access to your files that are in your teams, in your different teams, inside Teams, then you would go here. So you see how earlier I went to the Training Amazing Company, and then I went to Documents. I don't have to go Training Amazing Company and then go to Files. I could just go there, and right away I'm in the Files area, and I can just go into my channels and find the documents I'm looking for and say, oh, there you go. I've got the weekly meeting for the new business. And here I can decide again to do a 3 dots and either open it in Teams, open it in the browser, or open it in the application. So I have all those options right there. Really neat thing as well, I have an option to mark some of these files as my favorites. That's a new thing in Microsoft 365. And that's really cool because when you go to your home page of your files, it gives you your recent files. But let's say there's a document you access only like once every 2 weeks or once a month. It won't show up in your recent. It'll only, you'll have to scroll down and go and find it. So instead of doing that, what you can do is go back to that team you were in and say, you know what, this file, I only use it once a month, but I'd like to have it really fast. So you just click the star. And now I'll click those two. And let's say I need those 2 documents easily. You just click on your favorites, and there they are. And the day you don't need them anymore because you're no longer working on it, you just unclick the star, and it disappears. It just disappears from the favorites view. It doesn't disappear from your anywhere that it's stored. It'll just no longer show up in the favorites view. Hey, I see we have some new attendees that just joined. Thanks for stepping here. I know it's busy times and lunch is not always ideal. So thank you for joining us now. Cool. So I'm just showing how we can add some files to our favorites in the Microsoft Teams environment. And also you can do the same thing on SharePoint. So if I go back to my SharePoint environment and I want to mark any of these files as my favorites, I can go click on the 3 dots and mark that one as favorite. And now when I go into my Teams, see, it just came in. So really, really cool thing. Now, another little trick I want to show you that's really practical is that one of the things that I don't like about Teams, and I don't know about you, but one of the things that really annoys me about Teams is when sometimes I want to access a specific page, and as soon as I click elsewhere, I lose where I was. Like, so if I go to my calendar now, I'm going to lose the view that I had of my files. So I'll show you a little trick. When you're on files, hit the right button on your mouse and pop out the app. And now that basically gives you your equivalent of your Windows Explorer, but in your Teams environment. And now you have access to all your files on a separate window. So you can toggle with your Alt tab, you can toggle between your files, and now you can go to your calendar, or you can go to your chat, or you can go see your Teams. But every time you want to access files, you just Alt tab and go get your files that way. If you don't know the Alt tab, really, really cool shortcut. You put your thumb on the Alt key, which is the key right to the left of the space bar, and then you put I usually use my middle finger or maybe my index finger on the tab key, which is the little key right next to the letter Q. And if you hold your thumb on the Alt and you start just pressing the tab key once, you'll see all the applications that are open, and you can toggle between all your open apps. So I can go to my calendar, go back to my files. Let's say now I want to go back to my SharePoint. You see, really, really fast, I can toggle between all the applications that are open on my computer at this current time. So little tips and tricks that I find super practical that I want to make sure you know. So that was the second way of opening your files in the Microsoft 365 environment. The third way to open your files is, of course, to go to your Windows Explorer. There is a way to synchronize your files from Teams and SharePoint, your files from your OneDrive, et cetera, onto your Windows Explorer. We cover all that in the OneDrive and SharePoint course, so I'm not going to spend time on that right now, but it is something you can do. Little note, though, that's really important to know is that if you're using the Windows Explorer to access your files, so the Windows Explorer is that little yellow folder that's at the bottom. See the little yellow folder that's at the on your taskbar? So that yellow folder is your Windows Explorer, and you see your OneDrive is there, and you can also synchronize, so it'll open your, okay, so you'd have to set it up. See, I don't use it. The reason why I don't use it is because when you synchronize your OneDrive and your SharePoint files to your Windows Explorer, like I was explaining before, as soon as you're working on your machine locally, there's an extra step of the data that needs to be downloaded and uploaded back into the internet. And so every time you do that, you're creating the risk that there's going to be a data conflict when you're uploading and downloading the information. And especially if you're working in a collaborative environment with other of your colleagues, then there's even more chances of there being a conflict when you're both updating the same file at the same time. So I'd rather work online all the time than to work on my desktop. Especially nowadays, we have access to the internet so easily that the only time I ever synchronize here on my machine is when I know I'm going to be like, I don't know, out in a cottage in the middle of the woods, and I do need to maybe work on some stuff over the holiday or the weekend or whatever. Then I'll put stuff, I'll download them, I'll synchronize onto my computer and say, keep it on this device. And we cover all that, like I said, on the OneDrive and SharePoint course. But it's not something that I don't suggest people use the Explorer too much because of the issues that it creates. And then you're managing a lot of synchronization issues, which is a waste of time. So I don't think that's a good way to spend our time. All right, next one. The fourth way to open our documents is to go straight to our OneDrive in our online. So you're using your browser again, and you're going to say, now in your browser, instead of going to your SharePoint, you can actually click on the waffle here, go find your OneDrive. So again, if you don't know how to find all your apps, you can click to all your apps here, and you can go find your OneDrive app, which is showing up right here, little blue cloud. You click on the OneDrive. Again, that's another one that I would probably pin for my morning routine. I would pin it here to be with the rest so that it's easy to access if I'm going to my OneDrive a lot. So remember, your OneDrive is your cloud storage for your personal files within the company. Okay, that's what the OneDrive is. It's OneDrive. So every single employee of a company that has an account would have a OneDrive. So company ABC, if your email is at companyabc.com, well, then you have your OneDrive, your colleague has a OneDrive, and every other person who's there has their OneDrive. So it's really for you to put your files. If you're collaborating with other people with these files, then they shouldn't be on your OneDrive. You should move them to the SharePoint and then share them with your colleagues. And the explanation there is that your OneDrive will depart with you when you leave the company, in the sense that it will be destroyed. Whereas the SharePoint has the information for the perennity of the company. For as long as the company exists and they're using SharePoint, that information will be there. And usually when a company switches from SharePoint to another information management system, then they will migrate all that information. So if you want to make sure the company has access to that information that you created in your online, then make sure you put it in your SharePoint so that it follows the company and doesn't disappear with you when the day you leave. Either you retire, or I don't know, you win the lottery or something. So this is why you want to be able to access. So you want to be able to access your OneDrive, and when you start working with specific people inside your company, you want to transfer them. So to access your files, not the ones that are from different SharePoint environments, but to access your files, you would go to your OneDrive and then you would click on My Files. And right there, by clicking on My Files, this is everything that doesn't have the little arrow. All of that is yours. And you'll see, because it says private, 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 except for maybe a folder that you shared with somebody. The rest, private, 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 you see? So that's your proof that this is your private environment. Nobody can see what's in your OneDrive except the day you leave and the IT or somebody in your organization takes control of your OneDrive because you left. And they could keep it for, usually we keep it for 1 to 2 months. And we could save the OneDrive later on in case we think there's some really valuable information that we want to keep. But the sharing options will no longer exist. So it's really important to understand that, that caveat. Okay, and then the fifth, well, there was a fifth way to open your files, and that's from each application. The problem with doing that from the application themselves is that when you're opening a file from an application, so let me just open up an application. Let's say I'm going to open on my computer. I'm going to go straight and open like Word. When you open Word and you say you want to open a file, all of your recent files will show up here. But then let's say you don't want to open a recent file. You want to open a file that's on your SharePoint. Well, if you go to the Open menu, you have to go and look inside here and find them there. So you have to literally go through each one to find the right team, the ones you're following, and then go in depth. So sometimes it's just easier to go to that Files window that I made you separate a few minutes ago. That's usually your fastest way to get to your files. And then that way you can even say, hey, I'm looking to open a file here, and I'm going to look inside maybe this folder here. And once you're here, you say, okay, you can see it this way. Or when you're at the home page, you can say, just show me all the PowerPoints I've opened recently, and it'll show you the PowerPoints. You can say, just show me the Excel documents I've opened recently, and there you go. So there's also some quick accesses you can use by type of file, not just by location. So that's also really practical. All right. So when you're in Teams, okay, you got to remember Teams is not just a video conferencing and calling tool. That's what most people use it for. Hang on. But actually, any questions so far on anything that I've covered? If you have some, remember you have access to the chat that I'm constantly looking at to make sure I don't miss anything. So go right ahead and give me your questions if you have any, or comments. I'm happy to take them. So when you're in Teams, you got to remember Teams is really complete. As you can see, it's a file storage. It's got a file storage capacity. It's got calendar management. You can collaborate. You got meetings. You got task management. You got communication. So how does that actually work? How do I get to all those things? Well, here you go. You see your chat function at the top. That's your communication tool. Your Teams, that's for collaboration. Calendar is to manage your calendar, manage your meetings, etc. You have access to your calendar. File management is under files. And here is a little task management tool that most people don't know. And of course, all your meetings, are up on the right-hand corner. So your task management tool, you're probably wondering, wait a minute, I don't have that on my Teams. Is that the case? Are you seeing that little icon here, Tasks by Planner, on your Teams? Everybody's searching, going, I don't see that. Okay, so if you don't see that, I'm going to show you how to bring that about, because it is super interesting to have that tool. So right now, inside your Teams, if you want to add this, I'm going to remove it on purpose so that you don't see it anywhere. So yours probably looks like this: activity, chat, calendar, Teams, files, calls. You might have Teams first and calendar second. I move them around all the time because you can actually move these things around. So if you prefer to have your calendar below your Teams, well, now it's not letting me, but normally I'm able to move them as I wish. And then let's say you want to add that other application I was telling you about. So the purpose of adding that is if you want to have all your tasks also available in your Teams, you can. And when you click on the three dots, normally you'll see it in this list here. There's an application called Tasks by Planner and To Do. So you will click on this and it will show you the Task by Planner and To Do. So before you do anything else, really important, you want to go back to this symbol here and you want to do a right click and you want to pin it. If you don't pin this, it will disappear. As soon as you click somewhere else, it'll just disappear again. And you'll be like, but she added it. Now I can't see it. Okay, so make sure you right click and you pin. So now that it's pinned, you can see that this is your whole entire task environment. So every task you've ever created in your Outlook, every email you've ever flagged, every task that you've added a date to and said, I need to get it done by this date, every task that you've ever marked as important with a little exclamation mark, every task you've ever created, or people that have assigned you a task if you're using Planner, it'll show up here. That's your environment with all your stuff. So you see the flagged emails are there, etc. And the cool thing about my Planner and To Do is that with this application, as soon as you want to work on something on a specific day, let's say today you want to work on this, you just right click it and you say add to my day. And then you right click this and you say add to my day, and it adds a little sun, right? And you say add to my day. And then today you say, what am I working on today? You go to my day, ta-da, and there's everything you're going to be working on today. So now you can just focus on those 5 tasks and emails and stuff. You don't want to have to focus on the huge list. You just want to focus on the 5 items you really want to get done today. And that's how we become super efficient, and nothing falls in between the cracks. So make sure you got that application added to your Teams. It'll really, really, really help you. And so the one thing that people don't always know is that when you're working in Outlook, it actually has interconnections with Teams. We just saw the To Do ones, and with also OneNote. So how does it connect? Well, let's open Outlook and see how it connects. When you open up your Outlook, you'll see if you go into your emails and you look at the top of your emails, you'll see that right at the top, you'll see that there is there's a button that says Share in Teams. So I'm about to share that with you. It's just taking a moment to open up, but you want to make sure you see the button Share in Teams. And so I'm by the way, I'm telling you about the Outlook desktop app and not the online application. So we're looking at the desktop application here, and I'm just going to increase. So there you go. So let's say I take this email here that came in today. And it's taking a while to load up. Okay, so when you're in this email here, you've got 2 options. You can either use the, hang on, there we go. So when you click here, you have 2 options. You can either use the button here that says Share to Teams. You see right above here, there's a button called Share to Teams, and it should be under the the section Teams. So I can either share to Teams using this button, or you can go to the 3 dots that are here and you can say share to Teams. So when would you use that? Well, sometimes you're getting an external email from somebody and you want to talk about this email with your team in a specific channel, and you want to kind of have a discussion about it before you reply to the person who wrote to you. So let's say a client writes to you and they say, hey, we're looking for to sign a new contract with you, but we have some questions because we have this issue, that issue. And you need to share this with other members of your team. Instead of writing a bunch of emails back and forth, you really want to work in Teams. Why? Because in Teams, you won't have the famous header and footer that comes in from every email. So let me just show you an example. Well, this is a bad example. But every email you're getting from people will always have that header or footer thing. So for example, I'm just going to go. Okay, so let's say you're coming, you would have the header and the footer. And then when I reply to this, I'm going to have what? I'm going to have the header and the footer, and my reply is going to have a header and a footer, which is the signature. And then each email has that header, the signature, and you have the message in the middle. Well, that gets really, really messy when you have a lot of emails to go through. So what you want to do is, if you want to share this information, it's actually a lot better. Instead of doing a forward to, the best thing to do is to take the email and just say, you know what, let's share it. And you have a Teams menu here, and you say share to Teams. And when you do that, a little menu will open up, a little dialog box will open up and say, well, who do you want to share it with? Is it with a person, with an actual team, or with a channel? And so I would see right now it's offering me who I'm sharing with the most. It's saying, is this a marketing thing for this team? Is this for the general channel in this team? Where is it going? And you could say, well, this is a marketing element. And inside your message, you can tag either the whole channel or a specific person and say, hey, everyone, we need to reply to this customer and discuss the options we can provide. Let's have this chat here. And so you'll see, we're going to go look at it in Teams. So when we send this and we share it, now it's gone to Teams. And now I'm going to go back to Teams and go see where it is. So I'm going to go to the team here, and I'm going to go find, and I know I'm going fast, but like I told you, you'll have access to this recording, so you can pause me and do this slowly at your own pace. And so now I'm going to the marketing channel, and look at this. Ta-da! Marketing. Hey, everyone, we need to reply to this customer and discuss the options. And then people can reply here and say, thank you very much. Let's, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. And now we'll have everything regrouped. And you see how clean it is, right? When people will write, the environment will be so clean that you're not going to have all those headers and signatures. It'll be really, really, really easy to read. So I'm actually going to access it from my iPad. I have access to the same team here. So here we go. I see the message that just came in, and now I'm going to reply to this and say, as I think we can provide a great point. There. So I just wrote back. You see how clean this environment is compared to having this back and forth email? A lot easier and a lot faster and a lot more efficient. So that's what you can do directly from Outlook. You don't have to open up anything. You don't have to copy and paste. You just literally say, send it to Teams, share it with Teams. Other thing is really interesting is, let's say you're trying to have an appointment with somebody, and now you're saying, hey, I want to schedule a meeting. As soon as you reply with a meeting, it transforms that email into a meeting message, so into an actual meeting element. So now it'll say, so it takes a while to load, but it'll just say, here's the meeting. Oh, it opened to my other screen. Here we go. There you go. See, so now here it'll say, this is the meeting you have with these people. And if you have the time and date, you can simply enter it here and you send it. And it's already made a meeting for you. Really practical stuff. So let's move forward with some other really cool applications that I really want to show you. And So we talked about to do. And then Planner, that is a really, really neat project management tool for simple projects. So projects that will involve maybe 4 or 5 people in your team, and you just want to see how the project is evolving. So remember, I made you add, or I asked you to add this little application here. Well, that's because in Teams, when you have this application, you can actually view any plan that you're a member of, even if you have no tasks assigned. So let's say I go back to this training amazing company team, and I go into the sales conference 2022, and I see we have an annual report here that's planned. And now what I need to do, well, let me just find another one and see if I have something that has more meat around it. Okay, or maybe. Okay, this test plan here in one SOP. You see, so we have need new PowerPoint presentation for next week. It's been assigned to Agatha Christie, and she's behind schedule. So I could literally click on this task, and I could add a comment to Agatha and say, where are we at with this task? Any news? And then if I send it, she actually gets a notification saying, hey, you're behind in your task. You need to update the team on this. So we have full visibility on every single task and everything that's going on. And we can show this in a list, but we can also show it as a board. And you see here, you can have your buckets. And that comes from the Kanban method. So again, I can't spend 20 minutes on this because we're running out of time, but we have a full planner course. It's a whole 90 minutes where we really show you how to create a plan, how to follow ups with the plan, how to manage it with your team, and how to integrate it to the whole teams and to-do environment. Because see, all these tasks, as I showed you before, they all appear in the assigned to me when they're assigned to you. But if you're the one managing the project and you're the one assigning tasks, you can manage all of your projects right here on the same page. You don't have to go anywhere else. So very, very practical stuff. Just so you understand, though, when you're using Planner for the tasks in a plan, when you're using Outlook for your personal tasks, and if you're using To-Do to double check what's happening, the only applications, the way they talk to each other is that Planner talks to To-Do and To-Do talks to Outlook, but Planner and Outlook don't directly talk to each other. So the only way to have the big picture is to use that task by Planner and To-Do in Teams, and you'll have the big picture. The other way, I shouldn't say the only way, the best way is that one. The second best way is to go to your To-Do that I showed you earlier when you pin it. Wrong window. Let me show you. So when you pin it here on the top, your To-Do, you will also see what's assigned to you. You notice, though, that this To-Do here does not show you all the plans that you have. In order to see all the plans, you still need to use the task by Planner and To-Do in your teams. So those are the different variations. But to have a view of all your tasks, you can either use task by Planner and To-Do or use the To-Do window in your there you go, To-Do window here in your browser. So that's the best way to go and see your tasks. Okay. Now, I showed you some of the new stuff that were put in the legacy Microsoft 365 apps. But one thing I do want to show you, the last thing I want to show you before we leave, is actually the Forms app. So Forms is another amazing application. And when you're in the Forms environment, what you can do here is create surveys, you can create quizzes, you can create really all sorts of really amazing stuff. So one of the things we did here, I'll just show you one quickly that I created, is I created a survey called the satisfaction survey for Project B. And so this survey, of course, it's not very, very long, but I created a survey that's super easy, super simple. It only had a few questions, but I'm going to send you the link right now so that you can actually answer it, and we'll see it in real time. as you fill it in. So you can see how the results come in. So let me send you that here. Okay, so if you click on that link and you go to this, we can see it in real time, the response is coming in. And you'll see how it does graphical work for you. Like it literally does the work for you. It's quite phenomenal. So let's see you reply to that and see them come in. So what did you like least about the project? What did you like most about the project? How happy are you to work on this project? And then that's basically it. So you got 3 questions to answer. So let's see who does this first. There, so we got, good, we got 2 responses. See, so right now it's giving me a graphic and it's telling me that out of the rating is giving me 4.5 stars out of 5. So we got 2 responses. Of course, the more responses you get, the more information it'll provide, right? Because a data set of 2 is not enough. But one thing you can do here is you can view the results one by one. So they're anonymous. So you can see each person what they wrote. Or what you can also do is go back into Excel now and open the Excel spreadsheet, and it'll give you all the data, when the person filled it out, exactly how long it took them, etc. So that can be super powerful to then integrate into a pivot table, integrate into a graphic, make your own graphic, put it into a PowerPoint presentation. You see where I'm getting at. It's totally integrated because it's in Excel. So this actually creates an Excel spreadsheet for you. You don't have to do anything. You just open it up and it'll give you all the responses. So we can use it this way as a normal survey, but we can also, we can also use it as I'm just going to open another form because obviously there's something up here. We can also use it to make a quiz. So if you want to evaluate people in your organization, let's say you want to evaluate your employees or you want to evaluate somebody else, you can also do a quiz here. And so when you're doing a quiz, and I'll show you one that already exists. No, actually, I'll just create one. So if you do a quiz here, the nice thing about creating a quiz from scratch, you'll see is like, if you learn anything, so you add a new question and you say multiple choice, and you see here, it'll say how many points it is. So let's say you give 10 points to this question and you say, what is the most effective way to see all your tasks and plans? And then here it would be in Teams using tasks by planner, and that's the right answer. So you would say this is the correct one, and then you would say in to do, and then you would say in Outlook, and then you would say, I don't know, in SharePoint. You get the drift, and then you can put pictures. So I could put the logo of each one. I don't know if you noticed, but the form that you filled out to even register for this webinar is exactly that. I was using a Microsoft form. So now if I want to see what it looks like, I can do a preview, and it'll show me what it looks like on a computer. And it also shows me what it looks like when somebody's using their cell phone to see the evaluation. So once people enter the answers, they won't see right away which one's the right one, of course, but as soon as they enter it, it'll tell them, no, that's the wrong answer. And you can even have an explanation of why it's the wrong answer, or, the right answer. So you can have an explanation for each one, and you can actually have full evaluations, see exactly how people are doing, use it for, like I said, employee evaluations, use it for training, use it even for, we give that also to most of our clients before they take courses with us to see their levels before we sign them up for specific like Excel courses or even Power Automate or things like that. So quite a powerful tool. So there you go, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed this webinar and you learned as much that as I am happy to have given you, and I really hope you have some takeaways. I'd like to see in the chat what was your what you liked the most. And like I said earlier, you will be getting this recording by email. So I'll be sending you an email either by the end of the day today or tomorrow, and you will receive the recording to this webinar. So you'll be able to watch it whenever you want. You can, happily share it with your colleagues. And then I do want to let you in on this offer that we have. It's the same offer I was giving you last week, but just in case you missed it, and this time I have it visually. So I'm going to show that to you now. No problem, Greg. We get tied up in meetings. These things happen, right? So anyway, I'm giving you everybody who's registered, and of course, definitely the ones who are here today. You're going to get all of our public courses at a 50% discount when you use this code. So the code is Lakeland, LKLD 502024, and you get 50% off. Best way to do it is you either, but you have to book the courses or the course by January 31st. But the course can take place anytime between now and March 31st. If you don't want to do this by yourself online and you want me to guide you through it, you can also just email me and I'll be happy to take care of it with you and get you set up. So thank you so much for your presence. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your day and a very efficient one. And remember, there's 2 more webinars, one on February 6th and one on March 5th, or maybe I got that backwards, but it'll be coming soon. So look out for those emails to remind you to show up. Thanks again, and see you next time. So was that neat? Did you learn a bunch of stuff? And are you just like completely pumped about what you can do now? Because now you got more time on your hands and more relaxed moments in life so that you're not so stressed and overwhelmed. That's the whole point of all of our videos. So we know we hit the spot. We know we can help you. And please remember to check back in here, hit that like button, hit the bell. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And we'll be coming out with more videos, more tips and tricks to show you how to be more efficient with technology or without, because efficiency is our middle name. Thanks for watching our Improov channel. Again, I'm Sandrine. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, night, morning, whatever time it may be. Bye for now.